Villanova. They're going to file in at their seat locations. Caleb Daniels, Colin Gillespie, and Eric Dixon join us at this time. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome to the Final Four, and this is the main interview room. You guys will be with us for about 12 minutes. We're going to take questions from all the different reporters we have out here. They're going to address you by name. We're going to listen for their names and media outlets. They're going to ask their question, and then you guys can give your answers. Same drill as the last couple of weekends, just a little bigger room.
Gotcha.
All right. If you have a question for Caleb or Colin or Eric, please raise your hand. We'll send a microphone stored to you. Let's start in the front row, all the way down on the left, sir. Your name and media outlet.
Rod Walker with the Times-Picayune in New Orleans. Questions for Caleb Daniels. Caleb, just what does it mean to be here, and just reflect on coming full circle like this?
It's definitely, honestly, a true blessing and an honor to be a part of this, to have Final Four here. Obviously, I started my college career here, so it's definitely an honor and a blessing. But nevertheless, we're locked into what we do here at Villanova. We're just locked into each other and just focused on each other.
We're going to stay in the front row toward the left, sir.
Ed Daniels, WGNO New Orleans. Caleb, could you kind of elaborate? Your high school coach told me this week that you've improved so much as a player. What steps do you think you've made since you've been at Villanova to make you an even better player than you were?
I think that's just being around my teammates, being around guys every day that's pushing me every day and holding me accountable to be the best version of myself, and I also push them and keep them accountable as well. And overall, I think what's helped is just being solid. Every day we push each other, every day in practice to just constantly go beyond what we do every single day and to just stay consistent in that.
We have a question on the right side, second row, Mike.
Mike Jensen, Philadelphia Inquirer. For Colin and for Eric, you can go deep as you want. I'm just wondering about what kind of conversations you have with Demir, what's his role on this team, what he does for each of you.
We're going to ask Eric to take that first, then Colin.
For me, Da is vitally important. I know before I came in, and he's always been a mentor, leader for me personally and for all the forwards. So I would say, he's a leader for us, even if he's not playing all the time, but definitely leader, mentor.
Colin, same question to you.
Yeah, he's a great leader for us, just vocally, leading by example, practices, lifts. There's some practices where he's playing more, trying to get us prepared if it's a bigger team, and he'll be out there trying to do whatever he can for us, and then he just knows everything that we do. So helping the younger guys, if he sees things, he could just say it to us because he's been in those situations before, and he knows what we're trying to do. So definitely a great vocal leader and just all-around leader for our guys, younger and older.
We're going to stay in the front on the right, Billy.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Colin, can you tell me how much you played in the post before you got to Villanova in high school, and just kind of, I guess, walk through the process of, how the emphasis of that and just some of the things that, how you, I guess, built up that skill?
I didn't play at all in the post in high school. I played in the post because when I used to play my dad and my brother one-on-one, and they would bully me. So I had to learn. And then when I got to school, Jalen Brunson did it to me. So I learned a lot from him, how to play out of there, the importance of it, being able to create your own shot inside in there at a close range, and also being able to kick it out and just be a decision maker out of there, get other guys' shots. So I would say I learned it probably from Jalen when I first got here, because I didn't play out of the post much in high school, but definitely Jalen. Phil did it my sophomore year, and just kind of continued to do it, and it's worked out well for us. We've been able to get other guys' shots and put a good scorer down there. He could get his own shot.
We're going to stay on the right side in the third row. This is the back right microphone, though.
Chris Budden with ESPN. Caleb, this is for you. When you look at your journey from transferring your health to make this full circle moment, if someone were to ask you, how do you describe your career, what would you say?
I think so far I would describe it as just it's just been a marathon. I've never let the best of me or even the worst of me, dictate who I was in the moment. I just stayed in the moment, stayed where my feet were, and kept my head in it and just realized that it's one day at a time. And that's, honestly, I feel as if that's been the story of my career.
We're going to go back to the left side in the second row. This is the back left microphone.
Yeah, Zach Boyer from the Lawrence Journal-World. Colin, I understand Caleb had a pretty spirited game of one-on-one when he was on his visit to Villanova a couple of years back. What do you remember from that day, and what did you learn about him and when you guys were playing?
How did you find out about that?
Research.
Yeah, Caleb, it was in the summertime, so nobody was at school, and he was coming out for a visit. So me and Dada were local guys and older guys, and he was a part of our class. So he came up to school, and we were showing him around, and coaches asked us if we could do like a little shooting competition, and obviously we're two competitive guys, so it turned to one-on-one, and he got up on me 13-0, and I was scared. I was nervous. I was like, who is this kid? Because I hadn't heard of him before, and I obviously looked him up, watched his highlights. I was like, all right, he could help us. But then when we started playing, he got up 13-0, and I was like, all right, this dude can really help us. But yeah, I mean, I knew right away that he was a great fit for our program. Just him as a person, I knew he would fit in right away, and as a basketball player as well, he's grown so much since when he first got here. He was always the other team's best player his first year, redshirt year, when we were doing scout. He was always pushing us, making us better, and he's gotten better ever since then. So yeah, it was definitely an intense one-on-one. We played a couple games.
We have a new feature this year. We're able to take questions from the metaverse. We're going to go to Zoom. David Mandalara Jr. of Philly Sports Blitz is up first.
Questions for all.
David is
Can you
muted. Okay, go ahead.
Can you guys, the questions for all three of you guys, can you just talk about what's it mean to have Justin Moore be with you during the Final Four run?
We'll ask Eric to go first, then Colin, then Caleb.
It means everything for us to have him around and to be in touch with him, in contact with him. We miss having him on the court, but, he is bigger than him as a basketball player. That's our friend, our brother, so it's good to have him around.
Colin.
Yeah, definitely is nice to just be able to have him around. He's been a great leader for us this year, vocally leading by example. So I think just having him around is really good for us. I think he's encouraging our other guys who are going to step into bigger roles. And yeah, like E said, it's more than just basketball for us. He's a teammate and a brother first, and we're always just trying to make sure that he's all right.
And Caleb, same question.
Yeah, it's always good to have Justin around. He's a true brother to us. We always want our brother around, so him just being around just gives us all confidence, and it makes us all okay. So seeing him Saturday will be very special to us.
We'll go back to the main room right in the center. Dana?
Dana O'Neill at The Athletic. Colin, you were off of Billy's question about posting up. You said you didn't do it in high school. So how do you get comfortable in the trenches like that when it's not something that you've done traditionally in your life?
I think just doing it over and over again, practices, games, you get more comfortable with it the more you do it. And I've been put in that situation a lot now, and it's kind of become natural for me. And like I said, just learning it from the guys who came before me, having to defend it has helped me on offense as well, because I know what it takes, kind of how to move in there, and where I could make passes out of, and where I could get my own shots. So it's definitely just repetition, I think.
On the right side, 4 rows back, Zach. Microphone to you.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Caleb, I'd like to hear what you remember about that one-on-one game, and who won the game.
It was a very competitive one-on-one game, one-on-one series. Yeah, like Colin said, I was up 13-0 the first game, and I just remember him coming back, like making every shot after that. After I missed obviously a layup or something, I can't remember, but he came back and made every shot, and he ended up winning that game. And the series ended up being 3-1 Colin. So yeah, we competed very hard for a while. So.
We're going to stay in the room, same area. John Fanta.
Hey guys, John Fanta, Fox Sports, Big East Digital. Caleb, I'm curious, kind of those stories of early on, that game's won. Talking to Villanova guys through the years, they sometimes have a great story about their first Villanova practice experience. What was that like?
My very first Villanova practice, I was a red shirt, and remember they split the teams up and they did guards and posts like series, and then we did 3-on-3 guards post drill, and this possession I had to guard Colin ironically, and he was in the post, so it's funny that he was just talking about being in the post, and I remember Sadiq was on my team that day, Sadiq Bey. He told me to stay down on Colin's shot fake. I did not listen. He was obviously backing me down. I was trying to do my best to chest him and play good defense and play clean. And, when you're a red shirt, your habits aren't there yet. So he's backing me down. I go for a shot fake. I come out of my stance. He gets lowered, hits my rib, goes up for the layup and one. I am literally wheezing. I'm like, wow, this is like Villanova basketball at its finest. And, every day after that, I just had to learn to just be solid, and it just taught me to just not foul and to just stay down on shot fakes. So thank you, Colin.
Good lesson. Final question for this set of student athletes.
Hi, guys. David Lawrence from Kansas Radio. Question for all three of you. Your thoughts about the Jayhawks as a team, individuals that stand out to you, and then following that, how much more familiar are you with them because they faced a couple of Big East opponents really recently?
That's a question for all three? Yes. Eric first, then Colin, then Caleb, please.
We know Kansas is a great team with a lot of great individual pieces that come together very well to make themselves the team that they are, and we're expecting a tough battle out of them.
Yeah, like E said, they're really well coached. Obviously, the last 2 years we saw them, I think, my junior year, and Abaji was a big piece of that. Brown was a big piece of that. McCormick was on the team, so 3 guys that we're real familiar with that have only gotten better. And then Wilson's in his sophomore year, so he's gotten a lot better since last year. And adding Remy Martin to it, coming off the bench, being a really dynamic scorer has been really big for them. And then Harris kind of steadies the ship, runs the offense. And, we're expecting a great game. Obviously, they're really well coached and a lot of depth where they could put it inside and McCormick can score, or they could just kind of play outside with the 4 guards around him and drive it and kick it and shoot threes and ISO and kind of score ISOs. So,
Caleb, anything to add on Kansas personnel?
Based on what Collins just said, he said a lot. So I just feel like they're a very well-coached, well-balanced team. They're very physical as well, so we're expecting a tough physical battle for 40 minutes.
We'd like to thank Caleb, Colin, and Eric for joining us here in the main interview room. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again before this thing tips on Saturday. We're next going to have Brian Antoine, Chris Archie-Diacono, Jermaine Samuels, and Brandon Slater. Will reset the dais, and we'll get to your questions. Brian Antoine, Chris Archie-Diacono, Jermaine Samuels, and Brandon Slater from Villanova. They'll be here for the next 12 or so minutes to take your questions and give their answers. Fellas, welcome to the main interview room here in New Orleans.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
If you have a question for our student athletes from Villanova, please raise your hand. Let's start on the left with Jeff Goodman.
Jeff Goodman, Brandon. What's your season been like? You got off to such a good start. especially in the offensive end back in November. Then you got hurt, and it feels like you're trying to get kind of your offensive confidence back. How important is it going to be for you to be aggressive in this game?
It's going to be very important to be confident and play my role this game. My teammates and my coaches, they have the utmost respect and confidence for me, and they know all that I've been through this year. So this game will be very important just because it's our next game for me and my teammates.
If you have a question for the student athletes from Villanova, here's one all the way up front on the left side. Sir, your name and media outlet.
Matt Breen from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Chris, this is for you. Were you in Houston for the Final Four with your brother? And
Yeah.
just what was that like, and how excited are you for your own experience this weekend?
Yeah, I was in Houston for 2016. Clearly, it was a crazy experience, all the ups and downs. Marcus Page hitting the shot before Chris Jenkins shot. Just being with my family was great. It's exciting to be here, just with my teammates, because we know that we've worked hard all year, and we know the job's not done yet.
On the right side toward the back.
Colin Beasley to Villanova. And Chris, the last time the Wildcats played without, right over here. Okay. Last time the Wildcats played without Justin Moore, you had your best game of the season, playing 25 minutes and scoring, I believe it was 9 points. What are you expecting your role to be in Saturday's game?
Really, nothing changes. My role is I come off the bench, bring energy, and just make sure we're playing Villanova basketball for 40 minutes. So whenever I'm in, I'm going to help our team play Villanova basketball.
If you have a question for the student athletes from Villanova, please raise your hand. Let's go up front to the right with Billy. If you guys, the lights are very bright up here. If you guys want to just raise your hands to make sure the student athletes know where you are.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Brandon, I guess when you were back in high school, you've got, this is almost like a reunion of the St. Paul, or the 6th team here. Is this something that, ever crossed any of your minds, and do you keep in touch with, Anthony or Trevor or Jeremy?
During the basketball season, you try not to think about your past teammates, because you got new teammates and new relationships and new brothers that you see every single day. So during the season, we try not to talk to each other as much, but after the season, we think about it, and this is very special for our community back home. So I'm proud of those guys and how they all made it here today, and after this is all said and done, we'll probably look back and think about how special this moment is.
If you have a question for the student athletes from Villanova, please raise your hand. We'll send the microphone steward in your direction. Any further questions? Billy, back to you.
Brian, what Coach Wright on Monday was just talking about this may be an opportunity for you. I guess, can you just maybe, have you gotten a sense of, like, during practice what might be, expected of you on Saturday, and how you're looking forward to whatever role is going to be available to you?
Yeah, I'd say I have seen it in practice, but practices really haven't changed ever since the season started. So no matter what, Saturday holds, I'll be there, prepared.
We're going to go back to Zoom. Christopher Heidel from Herb FM. You're on in the main interview room here in New Orleans.
Hey, folks. Hi, thanks. This is Chris Heidel from Herb FM Radio in Baltimore. These questions for the players. Talk about Kansas. What does Kansas look like in getting preparating for this game? Do they look like somebody you played in the Big East, or somebody you played like in your non-conference schedule?
Let's ask Chris to take that, and then Jermaine, please.
I'm not sure anyone that we've played throughout the year. They're a unique team. Clearly, they're a number 1 seed, great team. They play tough, physical, and fast. So for us, we just got to make sure that we defend and rebound and play Villanova basketball for the best we can for 40 minutes. But no, I wouldn't say one team in the conference season or out of conference. They're their own unique team.
Jermaine, your thoughts on Kansas?
Yeah, adding on to what Archie's saying, I don't think there's a team in the Big East or out of our conference schedule that is similar to them. They have great balance, and they all share the ball really well. On top of that, they have a great front court with McCormick and Lightfoot. They know how to mix it up and get out in transition, and then you add Remy Martin to the piece, and it can get really explosive in their offense. They're a great team. They know how to defend. They know how to guard as well. And they're number one seed for a reason. They won their conference tournament for a reason. They're a great Kansas team.
Third row on the left. Let's go back to Jeff.
Jermaine, not a lot of people are giving you guys a chance after losing Justin. What do you think about that when you hear that over and over?
I think it's the same thing we heard last year when we lost Colin. We were grateful enough to make it to the Sweet 16. We don't see it as yes, it's very tough that we lost Justin, and it does hurt a little bit, but these guys are ready. The same guys put in the same work as Justin all year. A lot of people don't see the hours that they put on after the games, before the games, and they're ready to go and they're ready to contribute.
Second row on the left.
Yeah, Zach Boyer from the Lawrence Journal World. Jermaine, what do you remember from that game in December 19 against Kansas, and then maybe even with McCormick? How much you've seen on tape, how different he might be from them.
19 was that?
1920, early 2 years ago.
Junior year? Oh, that game. I remember that game was electric, and his presence, and I think Azubuike. Yeah, Azubuike's presence. They always have great guys in the front court. Very physical. Know how to use angles. Know how to rebound very well. Their presence is always felt, and it's always noticed. And we're all expecting to see that, on Saturday.
Chris, you have some memories on that one as well?
Yeah, they've had a couple of the same players from that team. They had Abaji, Brown. Yeah, I hope you say it like that. And then McCormick and even Lightfoot. So they've had a lot of guys who have a lot of experience over the years. And like Jermaine said, they're a tough physical team who's gotten better ever since that game. So it's going to be a challenge for us.
On the left side in the fourth row.
Question for Chris and Brian. Tom Shredencheck, Fox in Philadelphia. How important is it with increased minutes to continue to play your game and not try to do too much, not to overcompensate for Justin, but to play your game and do what you do best on Saturday?
Brian first, please, then Chris.
It's pretty simple. Just, whatever coach asks us to do, just go in there and do that and not think of anything else off the court, anything of that,
Chris, go ahead.
Like Brian said, it's up to coach, but it's not just Brian and I filling in for the minutes or just have to fill Justin's shoes. Everyone else is going to step up. Jermaine, Slate, Caleb, Eric. Everyone's going to have to play a little bit of a role to fill what Justin did for us on the offensive defensive end.
We have two questions on the right side, and then we should wrap things up. Second row.
Jermaine, does it mean anything to you to be here with schools like Kansas and North Carolina and Duke, three of the most storied programs in college basketball history, and kind of have you guys on that same stage? And do you feel like you guys have kind of laid a foundation for Villanova in the future?
Yeah, it's an honor. Ever since I started watching basketball, all you see is Carolina, Duke, or Kansas make it to the Final Four. So being a part of it makes it that much special. And I think it's just, a tribute for us as Villanova to the guys that came before us, even the guys that may have not made a Final Four or may have not gotten that far. All the work that they put in, and, we do it for them. And it's interesting to see what's going to come in the future, but we're extremely grateful to be here.
Final question, back of the room on the right, on the aisle.
Deuces Rogers, 6 ABC Philadelphia. Jermaine, I'm going to give this to you because you're the elder statesman up there. We hear the term Villanova basketball. Every one of you guys say it. Coach says it all the time. For people who don't know, can you define what Villanova basketball is?
Villanova basketball is playing hard, smart, and together with pride for 40 minutes for your teammates and coaches. That simple. It's all about being a part of something that's bigger than yourself and giving it up for your teammates.
We'd like to thank Brian, Chris, Jermaine, and Brandon for joining us here in the main interview room. Guys, good luck on Saturday. I'm sure we'll see you probably tomorrow and before we get to tip the thing on Saturday night.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
We'll have Coach Wright in about 10 minutes right here in the main interview room. Jay Wright. Hi, Serby. We're joined now by Villanova head coach Jay Wright. For the next 20 minutes or so, Coach Wright will take your questions and provide his answers. We're going to ask Coach to open things up with a statement, and then we'll get to the first question. Coach.
Got it. Hello, everybody, and good to see the Philly locals here and everyone else. We are obviously thrilled, like everyone, to be a part of a Final Four, and especially be here in New Orleans, one of my favorite Final Four towns as an assistant coach and a head coach going to the coaches' conventions. Never been here as a part of a Final Four as a team, so we're fired up about that. We've had good practices. I think we're starting to get comfortable without Justin. We miss Justin Moore. He'll join us down here on Saturday. But we are preparing for a great Kansas team that has proven themselves all season in every situation. They're going to be one of the fastest, quickest teams we've played against, and always a Bill Self team is incredibly intelligent defensively and tough, and we know we're going to have to be smart offensively against them.
If you have a question for Coach Wright, please raise your hand. We'll send a microphone in your direction. State your name and media outlet before your question. Let's begin right up front in Alabama.
AP Stedham, WHEP, AM and FM, Foley, Alabama.
Beautiful.
Hey, Coach, good to see you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Coach, is there a player or two that you must stop for your team to be successful against Kansas? And can you mention a few more things that are consistent with a Bill Self team?
You know, if you look at inside, outside, you'd have to say Abaji and McCormick. But the beauty of their team is you got Remy Martin coming off the bench and is as high power as anybody right now, right? So you can go through any of the positions, and I love Wilson, how he plays. He reminds me of like a bigger Josh Hart, which is nice unless you're playing against him. It's when you see that, you're like, wow, he's like Josh Hart, but bigger, and that's pretty cool, except we got to play against that guy, right? And so, I mean, I think the strength of their team is in their balance, inside, outside. Brown, a great shooter and driver. And if you talk about the consistencies of Bill's Self team, I would have to say they always play hard. They're always outstanding defensively. They're always very intelligent, and they're great in after timeout situations, end of game situations. You know, the sign of all well-coached teams.
We're going to stay on the front, on the right side. Dana first.
Dana O'Neill at The Athletic. Jay,
Hello, Dana.
Your guards, you know, the way they post up, which is relatively unconventional, how much of an equalizer do you think that is, and particularly maybe going against a team like Kansas when you are undermanned?
I mean, you know, you hope it is, Dana. You hope it's something that can be effective. We've actually had games, and the Houston game was one of them where we couldn't do it, you know, because of their defensive scheme. So we do have to have other answers to that. I think we get a lot of credit for that, and it's just a part of what we do, right? We can be successful without it, but it's something that we like to use. One of the things about Kansas that concerns us is, you know, if you look at Brown, Abaji, those guys, and even Harris, they play with length and size, and they always have a light footer or McCormick around the basket to protect the basket. That's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to be creative in finding ways to get our guards down there. If we can, it's going to be good for us. If we can't, we have to have other answers.
In that same area on the third row.
Coach Chris Bunnan of ESPN, when you look at Caleb's journey to school, through everything he's been through, what's it been like to watch his journey and get to see him in his hometown, be able to play in the Final Four?
There's a lot of great feelings about coming to the Final Four, but watching and experiencing Caleb come back home and playing the best basketball of his career is really heartwarming for me. He he has been through everything. I mean, he's got COVID twice. He had myocarditis. I mean, all the things we feared that you test for, that you worry about young athletes getting. He got it. He was out. He was literally out from from April to September. He couldn't do anything, nothing. Like he couldn't even shoot free throws, and then he comes back this year and he gets COVID again, and he's missed so much, and to see him playing at the level he is right now and to be back home in New Orleans is awesome. What's been so impressive is I think it's his faith and his mental toughness. You never saw him down. You never saw it, even when he was coming back from injuries and stuff, you didn't see him frustrated. It's incredible, and it's why he's in the position he is in now. And as I said, he's playing the best basketball of his career.
Front row, Mike.
Mike Jensen, Philadelphia Inquirer. Two-part question, and it's about two different people. But first about Malik Waynes. I'm curious, what does it mean for you to have him be at a Final Four? What is it, and for a former star point guard to be doing really sort of menial stuff?
Yeah.
Do you explain that to him in advance? And then the other part is about Cosby Roundtree. Have you noticed him grab a mop and do sort of Ochefu duty during a timeout? And what's his role in this team, and what does it mean for you?
Malik Wayans is a great story for us. It's what our program's all about. He was a great player here. Went on, had a great professional career in the NBA and in Europe. And then he was 1 year from his degree, and he came back. And he was a great student while he was here. He just, after his junior year, went to the NBA. So he just had 1 year to complete. And he came back, and I just said to him when we were doing our Wildcat walk before we get on the bus, he and I were at the back of the line. I said, look at this. How about you going to a Final Four as a coach? Who would have ever thought you would have impacted a team as a coach? Because he was a little bit of a hard head as a player, in a good way. It's what made him good, but you wouldn't have thought he was going to be a coach. And but to see him come back and go to class, like he joked with me one day, he's like, I just came back from class. He's like, I'm 30 years old. I'm sitting next to Jalen Brunson's sister in class, And the humility and the intelligence for him to go through that, and it's such an impact on our players because they know he's a great player. They know he played in the NBA, and he brings great wisdom every day to them. So it is really a big part of our program's pride to have a guy like that coming back, finishing his degree, being a coach, impacting the team, doing all the little things he's got to do. Like, you'll see him sometimes when we get off a plane and we're getting the bags from the plane to the bus. He's helping the managers carry the bags from the plane to the bus. And every once in a while, I'll say to our guys, like, that guy played in the NBA. Look at his humility. Look what he's doing for our team. And Demir Cosby Roundtree is the same way. Like, he can't go 5 days in a row, but he'll give us in practice 2-3 days where he can go against Eric Dixon, and he'll take Eric Dixon all the time by himself, work with Eric Dixon, and he'll walk through it on the scout team. So on day of the games, our scout team, if we breakfast at 8, our scout team's down there at 7 a.m. going through the stuff. He's down there doing it, as a fifth-year senior. It's amazing. He does all the little things, and he's still a great leader on this team.
Next question is for Zach in the fourth row on the right.
Zach Brazilian, New York Post.
Hey, Zach.
Your two guys, Caleb and Colin, were asked about a one-on-one game they played when Caleb was visiting, and I guess it was pretty competitive, and Caleb was actually up 13-0 until Colin realized, wow, this kid's pretty good. I need to come back against him. Just what are your thoughts hearing that, and just speaks to Colin's competitive fire, I guess.
That's funny. I didn't know that. I could see a game if you gave Caleb the ball first, especially at that time in his career. I could see a game where he could go up 13-0 because he is explosive and incredible offensively. At that time when he came in, I can't see him stopping Colin in many possessions, to be honest with you. But it's funny to hear that because I could just picture that. I could see Colin saying, all right, this is it. You know, I gotta win this. I gotta find a way to win this. His competitiveness would allow him to do that. Whether we get this recruit or not, he might not like me, but I'm gonna find a way to win. Did Colin win the game? Did he say he won the game? I'd like to see him do it now. Because Caleb has learned a lot, and he's bigger and stronger. But that's a great story. And about for where those guys were at that time, Caleb came in incredibly skilled offensively, not really a refined defensive player, I would say. And Colin was a competitor and was probably thinking, I got to hold up the Villanova reputation here. I can't let a guy come in from the outside and beat us.
Front row on the right, Billy.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Jay, can you take us back to, like, at what point did putting your guards in the post become a priority? And I guess over the years, how do you teach that? And how do players build up the skill? What sort of work do they do?
You know what, Billy? I should probably look back. In my mind, I might not be right about this because I steal everything, and a lot of the stuff we do comes from our players. I remember that Ryan Archidiacono was good. He was good in the post. So we started posting him up. That's what I remember. We started posting him up. And Jalen Bruns, so we saw he had a strong lower body, and he was really tough in there, and he had great footwork. So we started using him in there. And then we started using Josh Hart in there as a guard. And in that season, it was probably around 15, we started to use that. Jalen came in 16 and would go against Arch in there. And when they would go against each other, they were both pretty good. But then after Arch left and we started using Jalen more, Jalen took it to a whole nother level. How to get into the post. Jalen was posting up bigger guys. You know, sometimes if they would switch and put the 5-man on Jalen, he'd post them up. So then we just started taking all the things that Jalen and Arch did, putting them into drills, and then playing a lot of one-on-one with our guards in the post, drills, and then seeing of the guards that came in who was good at it and who wasn't, right? And now Colin got his butt kicked by Jalen in there all the time and started to get really good at it. So we've, you know, over the years just found, and some guys just aren't that good at it, and that's okay. But we still do drills to try to teach every one of them to be good at it.
Mike, you had a follow-up?
Kevin Durant question. Did he text you about Justin, and can you take us through that? And did Justin get back to you about what that meant to him?
Yeah. I can't remember. I called Sean Ford at USA Basketball to get Kevin's number. And I texted Kevin, he called me. And Kevin said, you know, I was watching that, and it looked just like mine. I knew it when he went down, it looked just like mine. And so we talked for a while about it. And what was so impressive to me was he said, I'd like to talk to him. I'll talk to his parents about the process. And he said, you know, I want to tell him, you know, that he listed himself, Klay Thompson, a couple other guys, I can't remember, that he goes, look, these guys had it in the NBA, and people in the NBA know now that you can come back from that. He said, earlier, before me, when that happened to you, NBA people thought you were done. But so many people have come back from that now. I want him to know he's not done, and that NBA people know that too. And then, you know, we talked about the process coming back. He said, I'll explain it to him any time through his process he wants to use me. I'll do it for him. So I said, great. And I gave him Justin's number, and he FaceTimed Justin. And they had a great talk. And Justin said it was just really comforting to know, and to know that he's got him as kind of an advisor on his way through this.
Second row, center.
Dave Murphy with the Philadelphia Inquirer. Jay, does it mean anything to you to be here with Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, three of the most historic programs in college basketball history? Jermaine was saying, growing up, it seems like every Final Four has one of those teams in it. And do you feel like you've kind of put your program on the track to be one of those teams for future generations?
To answer your first question, do I feel anything about being here with them? Hell yeah. We have great respect for them. We have great respect for their tradition, their history, and for the teams that they are right now. We watch these teams. I mean, these are obviously the three best teams that are playing the best basketball right now. That's what the tournament is, right? Like, we all know that. It's like, who's playing the best basketball right now? And we never aspire to be one of those programs. As a matter of fact, we fight the urge to try to be like them because we're just so different. We just try to be the best Villanova we can be. But when people on the outside connect us to them or count us as part of their legacy and tradition, we love it because we have so much respect for them.
Center of the room toward the right side.
Hi, Coach. David Lawrence with Kansas Radio. The 2018 matchup is remembered by Jayhawk fans as 18 in 2018, that you were draining at a record-setting pace. Obviously, different cast of characters, but similarities and differences in your team this year, and it might be more difficult, but what's different about Bill Self's team in this matchup?
I think they're really different teams, and it's funny. Kansas fans are so passionate, and I'm not in the Big 12, so I hope I'm correct. They seem so polite. Like, I know we've gone out there and we've played, and after the game they always tell you, "Oh, you have a great." Now they beat you, but they tell you have a nice team, you're a really good team, good luck. But even after that, I see them around. They say like, "Wow, that game was amazing. We remember that game. You guys were great." In our minds, that game, I don't know if that happens so much when you come to Philadelphia. That's my point. But my recollection of that game was it was just one of those games where we just made it was ridiculous. And we've been on the other side of that. I remember looking down at Bill thinking, I've been there. It just so happened in a Final Four game. It happened to us this year at Baylor. Happened to us this year at Creighton. They just made every shot. We made every shot. So we don't even count that as, we were just lucky that happened. But I do think this year, really different teams. Like we don't have the firepower that team had. Kansas is a way faster team and much more explosive and much more perimeter oriented than that team. So it's almost like we're flip-flopped, in terms of what the teams are like, so different. But I think the things are the same. Is like Bill's teams, what always impresses us is the intellect defensively and the execution, in dead ball situations is always, coaches get off on that stuff. So it's always impressive when you see that stuff. I don't know how much players like it, but when coaches watch another coach do it, they're like, that's pretty cool. They do good stuff.
All the way in the back, Coach, and all the way left.
Coach Ed Daniels, WGNO New Orleans. I know you play in a lot of arenas and a lot of domes. Is it extra special to come here to what we consider an iconic building to play in this venue this year?
Absolutely. My wife and I were talking about it this morning. We're like, it looks so good. Did they knock it down and build another one? I was like, no, this is the original, man. Like this is the one we see the Super Bowls in and Final Fours in, and it is really special playing here. And like I said, I've been here as an assistant coach, even as a head coach at Final Fours. This is one of my favorite towns to come to at Final Four. Good restaurants, good music. Usually you're out of it, so you're here for a good time. But you're watching games in here, and to get to play in here is really special. And to say that you played here, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am for Caleb Daniels. He's just one of my favorite people as a player because everything he's been through, and he's also 3'8", 3'9" student. He's incredible. He's the most amazing kid. So for him to come back here is really special, and for us to be with him is really cool.
This is probably going to have to be the final question, all the way back on the right.
Hey, Jay, Matt Tate from the Lawrence Journal World. You kind of mentioned this a little bit ago about the field here, but Bill said yesterday that KU Nova kind of feels like the undercard to him, and he said he's great with that. I wonder, does it feel that way to you, and do you share his joy in that?
You know, when you say it, I get it. Somebody else did say that to me. I'm so worried about Kansas, honest to God. When I get out here and I have to answer the questions, I think about other things. They're so fast. And what's really impressive about them is there's teams that play in transition fast. There's a lot of teams that do that. In their half-court offense, they cut so fast. I remember watching a game just on a big Monday game or something. They were playing Texas Tech, and it was the end of the game. It was in Lawrence, and they had to get a three, and they passed and cut and passed and cut, and I was like, holy man, I'm glad we don't have to play them. Now here we are, right? So I'm not into I don't think about that at all. I'm so into our game.
We want to thank Coach Wright for joining us here in the main interview room. Coach,
Thank you,
good luck.
guys.
We'll see you again tomorrow.